Welcome pupils. Today's session in accounts, we're going to do a revision on our past paper. So the 2020 past paper that was written last year is the revision that we're going to do today. So this is our first question, and then this is our second question. So our first question reads, name the ledger in which the following accounts may be found. So first and foremost, you have to understand the question. It's on what topic? So this topic is talking about ledger accounts. We all know what ledger accounts are. These are the main books of accounts where all the business transactions are finalized and recorded from the ledger accounts. The ledger accounts are divided into three parts. We have got the sales ledger, the purchases ledger, and the general ledger. So we have to identify under which these questions fall under which ledger account they are supposed to be in. So our first question reads, a credit customers accounts. The first one has a credit customers account. So credit customers account. These are customers that bought goods. Okay? So under the ledger that this is going to be answered upon is the sales ledger. Question 1A. Credit customers accounts. This one falls under the sales ledger. The sales ledger, this is a book where we record transactions of items that have been sold out on credit. Where business transactions of items that credit are recorded. Should always bear in mind the word credit. We know what credit is. So a credit transaction is where goods are sold out, but payment is made on a later date. Same thing as a purchase transaction. So for the answer on A, credit customers accounts, it falls under the sales ledger. As I have stated, the ledger is where business transactions of items that have been sold on credit are recorded. In this case, credit customers accounts. So B, purchases account. Purchases account. This one on its own is straightforward. The purchases account falls under the general ledger and not the purchases ledger. The purchases ledger is where we open accounts of customers that bought goods from us. And then once we go to the general ledger, under the purchases account, that's where we are going to indicate now the customers under that purchases account. So for B, the answer is general ledger. What is a general ledger? This is the ledger where other accounts are open. This is a ledger where any other account is open. You cannot find the sales transactions posted in the general ledger. No, it's any other accounts. Mostly nominal accounts are posted in the general ledger or personal accounts. So we move to question C. Question C reads rent and rates account. If we go to the classification of accounts, rates and rent accounts are under nominal accounts. You know what nominal accounts are. So rent and rates account will go under the general ledger. A supplier of groceries on credit. A supplier of groceries on credit. So this is a supplier and we are the ones buying. What is the purchaser's ledger? This where we record items that have been bought on credit. Our keyword there is bought because it's a purchaser's ledger. The other term for purchases is bought. So J Muyumbana, a supplier of groceries on credit. J Muyunda is our supplier, so we purchase goods from J Muyunda. So J Muyunda falls under the purchaser's ledger because this is where we record items that have been bought on credit. Mostly businesses conduct their transactions based on credit. So these are the answers for question 1. Remember, we are answering the past paper 2020. This paper was written last year. So these were some of the questions that were found in the 2020 past paper, paper 2, accounts, final examination. So this is how you were supposed to answer these questions. So we move to our next question. So our next question is based on the topic that we all know as the bank reconciliation. So the bank reconciliation, this topic mostly looks at the reconciling of transactions between accounts. And these accounts are the cash book and the bank statement. So every bank account always has a cash book aside that we also indicate in the columns known as the bank column. So when these two accounts do not have items of the same, that's when we come in and reconcile. And then there are times when the cash book has to be updated because there are things that might be recorded in the bank statement and might have not been recorded in the cash book. So there are times when the cash book has to be updated, and there are times when everything is in place but you have to reconcile the books. So in this stage, the importance of reconciliation is to check the arithmetic accuracy. To check the arithmetic accuracy and to check how well the figures are corresponding according to the entries that have been placed in both accounts. Are they both moving at the same time? Are they both corresponding? If not, it's your duty as an accountant to correct the items and reconcile the books. So mostly the bank statement has to do with items in the bank. And everything that you record in the bank statement has to be recorded in the cash book. So our question reads, Joel Simakai's cash book and the bank for the month of September 2019 short the following details. So these are the details that that question is explaining to us. These are the details that that month of September was showing. So our first question is to update the cash book. Update the cash book. Bank reconciliation. statement. Update the cash book. And then the second one, after updating the cash book, you have to prepare the bank reconciliation, reconciling both the cash and the bank statement to see if they're corresponding and having the same arithmetic accuracy. So, why are we updating the cash book? We are updating the cash book because there are items that have been recorded in the bank and might have not been updated in the cash book. Therefore, we are going to update our cash book first. So, Joel's cash book update. So every time you are preparing a cash book, they will always indicate what balance to use. In this case, we were told to use the balance from the cash book, the balance brought down from the end of the month. And our balance brought down from the cash book was 11,000. So that was for the balance brought down. So we're dealing with September 30th. So we are supposed to come now to the details of both books. We have to realize what was placed in the bank statement but was not recorded in the cash book. So when we look at our details, we are able to tell, to say, from the transactions in the bank statement, the bank orders rent wasn't indicated. The dividends wasn't indicated. Unpaid check wasn't indicated. These are the records that were missing in the cash book, and we have to address them and update the cash book. So we're going to deal with these three transactions. So remember, the totals to use the balance from the cash book's last month date, of which it is 11,000. So that one has been updated. What else? Looking at the next thing is to bankers order rent. This one represents a standing order. So this is an instruction to the bank that a certain amount should be paid out to a client or to a customer or to a firm organization on a particular date. So in this case, it was not updated in the cash book. So it has to be updated. Because it has to be paid out, it will fall on the credit side. And it's amounting to 2,000. We move to our next unpaid check. So this check wasn't honored for a number of reasons, but it was not updated in the cash book. So dishonored checks, these are checks that have not been paid out by the bank for a number of reasons. It might be that maybe it was dirty, maybe some details on the check were not adding up, or maybe the signature. So we move to dishonored check. Amounting to 1,200. And then we come to our last one, the dividends. So what are dividends? So I'll come to forming of a business or maybe an organization. CEOs in an organization are known as shareholders. So they always come or have rules to say at the end of the year, looking at what profit we have made, we are to award ourselves and give ourselves our share. This is what we know as dividends. So this is a reward shared amongst shareholders of a certain business or organization at the end of a financial period, depending on what month or time you choose to give out the dividends. So dividends are always brought in. So it's going to be on the receiving side, amounting to 1,800. So we balance off our books. So we always have to look at which side weighs the most. The side that weighs the most qualifies to be in the total box, and then 1,200 gives us 3,200, because it weighs the most. So what do? We find the difference. The one we found this side was 3,200, so we have to less it from 12,800. I have a calculator with me here. 12,800 minus 3,200. You always place it on the part where it weighs the least. So carry down 9,600. 9,600. And the cash book has been updated, and you're good to go with that question. So we move to our next question. The important part of the question, preparing the bank reconciliation statement. So since we have reconciled our cash book and placed whatever was missing, we are done with that question. So now we have to reconcile the books. The size of your reconciliation account. So we are now some of the transactions that were now not reconciled between both accounts to be reconciled in the statement. So if we look at Eolivongani was updated. Arasimtenga was updated. We tick them out. Desai and Sons wasn't updated. Mwemba Cholwe was reconciled. And Jem Wilima wasn't reconciled. So Mwemba Cholwe was updated in the cash book. Jem Wilima wasn't updated in the bank statement, but appeared in the cash book. And then now And then the only accounts that we are dealing with here now is J. Mwilima, Desai, and Sons. So we come now to our bank reconciliation. So remember, after updating the cash book, we had our balance. That is the balance that we're going to use now to reconcile the statement, because the cash book had been updated and the problem in the cash book had been sorted out. So now we are free to use the balance. So we are going to indicate balance per cash book. Maybe this line is way too close. We place it here. Balance per cash book. Our balance per cash book is the 9,600. And then we move. Remember, all the time when you start with the cash book update, you always have to firstly add unpresented checks. You have to firstly add unpresented checks. When you decide to start with the balance from the cash book, you always have to start with add unpresented checks. But if you choose to start with the balance from the bank statement, this one, if you decide to start with this one, you are always going to add uncredited checks. So that's the one that but now we're starting with the cash book balance, we are going to add unpresented checks. So when we come to this part, remember, we're now reconciling things that did not appear here but are in the cash book. So in this case, if we look at Desai and Sons, Desai and Sons had, we had paid Desai and Sons a check, and it was not represented in the bank statement to indicate to say there's an amount that has been deducted. So this is the one that we are now reconciling, checking the arithmetic accuracy. So in this case, Desai and Sons was the unpresented checks. It can be 21, if I'm not wrong, yes. When you put your amount there, keep in mind 9,600. So as we add, our answer is 30,600. 30,600. So bank statement. We move to uncredited. So mostly balance. So we are lessing uncredited checks. We are uncredited checks. So this check wasn't credited by the bank, and yet the cash book has indicated to say an amount of so much has been brought in, but the bank did not know about that amount. So that is an unaccredited check. Okay, it was not credited in our bank system, in our bank statement, or in our bank account, indicating to say we have so much. So when they were doing the reconciliation or the balancing up, there was a mix-up because J. Mwilima wasn't indicated. Okay, he wasn't indicated to say he has made such a payment of how much? Of 21,500. So we have reconciled that one. We have also reconciled. Balance has been dealt with. So J. Mwilima was the uncredited check. It was not credited. I mean, it was not indicated in the bank statement, but it was credited in our account. So we need to understand where the 21,500 was coming from. And we realized that it wasn't credited, or it didn't pass through the bank scrutiny to be recognized. So remember again, the first statement you write is less. It's to less. So what are we doing? We are going to be our answer. 30,600 minus 21,500. Our answer is 9,100. That is our answer, and we are done with our bank reconciliation. And this is how this question was to be answered. So this is our past paper from 2020, paper 2, where we had these questions. Our first question was dealing with the ledger's accounts to identify the accounts under which they are to be posted. Remember, the ledger account has got 3 parts. It has got the sales, the purchases, and the general ledger. So in this case, we were trying to see where we would post the accounts that were presented to us in the question, and we looked at that. And now we moved to our second question, which dealt with bank reconciliation. And this is how that question that was written last year, be mindful, it was the past paper final examination that was written, and this is how it were to be answered. We come to the end of our revision. See you next time.
Good afternoon, class. And these are examples of crops that we grow in Zambia and the livestock.
Look at our geographic expression.
Good afternoon, class. And these are examples of crops that we grow in Zambia and the livestock.
Look at our geographic expression.
Good afternoon, class. And these are examples of crops that we grow in Zambia and the livestock.
Look at our geographic expression.
Good afternoon, class. And these are examples of crops that we grow in Zambia and the livestock.
Look at our geographic expression.
afternoon, class. And these are examples of crops that we grow in Zambia and the livestock.
Look at our geographic expression.
Good afternoon, class. And these are examples of crops that we grow in Zambia and the livestock.
Look at our geographic expression.
Good afternoon, class. And these are examples of crops that we grow in Zambia and the livestock.
Look at our geographic expression.
Good afternoon, class. And these are examples of crops that we grow in Zambia and the livestock.
Look at our geographic expression.
Good afternoon, class. And these are examples of crops that we grow in Zambia and the livestock.
Look at our geographic expression.